and welcome to another brand new episode of the
Geek
Buddies.
Woo, 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 woo.
Hey!
I was footballing it up, you guys. I was sportsing it up.
I like it. I appreciate that.
Giving a little sporty stink this week.
Omaha, Geek Buddies, go! Yeah, I like it. I'm down for it. Well, welcome to our show this week, our flagship show here, the Geek Buddies, and we're going to be talking about so many things here on the show, including all the Super Bowl trailers. We are coming to you a day early or a couple of days early because we've got other content coming on later on in the week, but we wanted to jump on these Super Bowl trailers as quickly as possible. We're going to talk about Nope. We're going to talk about the Rings of Power. We'll talk about that Moon Knight 30-second spot, and our main topic will be the Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness trailer. So much to talk about. For those of you who've been enjoying us and coming back every week, thank you very much. For those of you who are new, this is how it works. Each of us brings up a geek news item. We talk about it amongst ourselves and get into our main topic. And let's introduce ourselves right now. I am the Outlaw John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Outlaw Nation and the Geek Buddies. Mike.
I am Michael Vogel. I'm a writer and producer of animated TV shows and movies.
Shan.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer and a television actor where you may have seen me on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Silicon Valley, and the Goldbergs.
That's right. And we are powered and sponsored by the great folks over there at Carbon Health, www.carbonhealth.com. They're incredible people. They have 90 clinics in 14 states, virtual care in 24 states. They believe that everyone deserves good health. And look, we're changing seasons. Things start to happen to bodies when you change seasons. When you go into multiverses, things start to go jigsawing on your face. You start to fall apart. Multiple people show up. Before any of that happens, you want to handle your business, handle your body. Go to carbonhealth.com and see if they can help you out today with anything you're going on. And sometimes they have day of appointments available for you. And you know, that's difficult nowadays to get in and see the doctor day of. So go and take a look at them. They believe everyone deserves good health care. They got 3 pillars of foundational health care that they have in their program to help you get back on your feet today, or get tested for COVID, or get tested if you're going overseas for COVID. So they got all of that available to you today. All right, let's get into things. Who is first? Who's got the first trailer?
Well, we're not doing the trailer. We're not doing the trailer.
Oh,
first.
That's right. I'm sorry. Right. I apologize. I'm so caught up in getting the Carbon Health thing right. I forgot.
Hey, Carbon Health. We have a problem. Before we start this show, John Rocha tells us the rundown for the show. Yeah. And we are at about 3 minutes into the show, and he's forgotten. Hey, Carbon Health, what can you do for John Rocha?
Yeah.
I think the outlaw needs some help.
Memory exercises. I mean, I do crossword puzzles all day. I think my healthcare, my mental acuity would be better, but who knows? Anyway, let's jump into a little bit of sad news. Well, sad news for sure, but also a bit of a tribute here to the legacy of the late great Ivan Reitman. We lost him a couple of days ago on February 12th. He died in his sleep in Montecito, California. He was only 75 years old. I say only because people are living much longer nowadays, and so it's a sad situation when someone who is so talented, who's left such an incredible legacy of movies, passes away. We recently got to kind of get reacquainted with him through his son with that Ghostbusters Afterlife press tour, seeing him go out there as an executive producer on the film with his son, be interviewed with his son, and talk about the legacy of the Ghostbusters. But that wasn't the only great film he'd done. Certainly Twins, Kindergarten Cop, Dave, a number of films, plus producing a number of great films. Michael, what a loss here. I feel like you're an Ivan Reitman creation, in my opinion. You know, you just kind of see the betterment of the world. You want to see the world through Ivan Reitman's eyes. What was it like to hear the news, and what's your memories or thoughts when you think about Ivan Reitman?
Well, I'm with you on the 75. As the older we get, the more 75 starts to sound not as old as it used to, and it makes me a little nervous. But first of all, thank you very much. It's a lovely compliment, because I think that when we think of Ivan Reitman, we think of a comedy director, and he's absolutely that. But I think what made Ivan Reitman so great was the heart that he brought to his comedy while still being really genuinely funny. I mean, you just go through the movies that you listed, and each one of those has some really, really funny moments, but is also really, really sweet underneath. And I think that that's something that in a lot of times when people are trying to make really, really funny movies today, they forget that how important that is. And I think with Ghostbusters, and I think we saw this in the reboot, despite me not thinking everything about the reboot was exactly right, you can't say that last 15 minutes of that movie didn't have a hell of a lot of heart. And I think that even the original Ghostbusters, as much as we all think of it as a ridiculously funny movie, it has genuinely sweet moments. And I think that that's what Ivan Reitman really brought to all of the movies that he did throughout his career. And I think that's what's going to be really missed, because I think we talk about this all the time. There's definitely directors out there that are inheriting that mantle. I mean, Lord and Miller come to mind as a team that absolutely kind of follows in that Ivan Reitman path of like, we can be really, really, really funny, but also have hit you in the feels. Yeah. But he was the one who sort of defined that for an entire generation.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, it's a little bit under 20 films. Yeah, he's listed with 25 credits, but some of those are behind the scenes stuff or music videos. I mean, 20 films, Shannon, of varying degrees of good to great to kind of not so great, but certainly memorable. I mean, Meatballs, Stripes, Ghostbusters, Legal Eagles, which is a quiet favorite of mine from the 80s, Twins, Ghostbuster 2, Kindergarten Cop, Dave, Junior, Father's Day, 6 Days, 7 Nights, a damn good and underappreciated film, Evolution, My Super Ex-Girlfriend, No Strings Attached, and Draft Day. And he had Triplets and Summer of Love in production. He was going to do a sequel to Twins called Triplets. So when you think about all of his work overall, I mean, what thoughts come to your mind? What are your feelings about Ivan Reitman and his effect on your life as a film goer?
Well, I mean, obviously Ghostbusters is where I sort of discovered him. And, you know, when Ghostbusters came out, as we've discussed before, I grew up in a very conservative household. So I was not watching Meatballs or Stripes. But Ivan Reitman is the guy who showed Hollywood that Arnold Schwarzenegger could be funny. I mean, that was the first time that we found out that not only could he be funny, not only could he land a joke, but he could also play really interesting shades of vulnerability. That was another thing that, you know, you didn't get that from Arnold Schwarzenegger, the tough guy. I mean, you had some moments in Conan, but for the most part, you know, we talk about how certain actors, there are directors that can get more out of those actors than normal directors can. And Ivan Reitman is a guy who was able to pull that out of Arnold Schwarzenegger, to the point that Arnold Schwarzenegger went on to make a bunch of comedies, 2 more with Ivan Reitman. I mean, Kindergarten Cop is still a very, very funny movie. Junior, not so much. But 2 out of 3 for their pairing, I mean, it's fantastic. So finding out that, you know, Ivan Reitman was able to pass this filmmaking legacy on to his son, and Jason Reitman, along with Ghostbusters, has made some really, really great movies where you see shades of his father, but he's also taking his career in its own direction. And yeah, I mean, one of the most recent, the movies that made us, they talked about Ghostbusters, and Ivan Reitman and Dan Aykroyd were on there together, and that was a really great, not really a reunion, because I guess they would talk once a week, according to Dan Aykroyd's post. But just to get to see those 2 guys chatting, get to see them outside the firehouse, I mean, it was really, really great. And even though we hadn't gotten the movie from Ivan Reitman in quite a while, you know, the ones that he did give us, you know, they're going to live on for eternity.
Yeah, Mike, you talk about Lord and Miller, and Shannon mentions Jason Reitman, his son, but I mean, I think Todd Phillips, you can absolutely make a case for him as well. I mean, these are some of the films that he produced throughout his life, with different various interesting films here. I mean, you've got Space Jam, which is a lot of part of a lot of people's childhoods. Private Parts, the Howard Stern film for God's sakes. He did Road Trip. He did Killing Me Softly. He did the Euro Trip, Old School. Then Disturbia, which is an interesting choice. I Love You, Man. Hitchcock, which was, I think, a fantastic performance by Anthony Hopkins as Hitchcock. And then, of course, the Ghostbusters, then the Baywatch film, then A New Legacy, then Afterlife. So clearly a lot of things even that TV movie Late Shift, he was one of the producers on it. I remember enjoying that, and Animal House. So certainly an interesting, varied career and influencing a number of filmmakers that came up after him.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting, you know, like as you list those movies, it's not the resume of like a Spielberg or
it's not a Murderer's Row.
It's not like, oh, this would, but there are just some gems in there that I think really, to your point, inspired a lot of people. Like, obviously, I think if the 3 of us were going to choose, Ghostbusters is probably the tops for most of us. But I mean, I got to tell you, Dave is like low key right behind it for me as a movie that I think really affected me and the way that I like telling stories, because I think it is very fun, very cute, but so sweet. So if if I was gonna do my double feature for Ivan Reitman, I'm absolutely gonna put on Ghostbusters, but I'm putting Dave on right after.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just saw Dave this morning. I rewatched it this morning. I had a couple hours. I'm like, it's been a very, very long time. I watched it and I cried at the end. And I'm like, wow, he still has the power with his movies to kind of get you a little emotional. I wasn't weeping, but certainly that ending was really sweet. And you're like, man,
tears.
remember
man
when,
tears.
Yeah, in tears, right? Man tears, exactly. But remember when you could have hope with films. And I think we want that to come back. I think we desperately need that to come back. So that makes his loss even more, I don't know, devastating and resonant for a lot of us. And I would argue Bill Murray doesn't have a career without Ivan Reitman. I mean, some of his, even going back to Stripes and Meatballs, that's laying the groundwork for the Bill Murray we're going to get in Ghostbusters. And Shannon makes an excellent point about Schwarzenegger. What a complete sea change for Schwarzenegger to become even more beloved by a larger amount of the populace, going into the more family fare or comedy aspects of in his career. So yeah, just great stuff. So just a lot of love there for Ivan Reitman. Passed away at the age of 75, and he went the way you want to go, right in your sleep, surrounded by family. And we will truly miss him, but we will enjoy his films going forward in the future for sure. All right, let's keep going here. Let's jump out to talk about some true Super Bowl trailers that dropped here. Mike, I think you're going first. Is that correct, or is Shannon?
No, it's Mike.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
All right. Well, we're going to start off with a movie that I don't think I'm going to get Mr. McClung to come to see with me. But in all of the Super Bowl, in all the big Super Bowl trailers, I mean, like if you are like me, you went to a Super Bowl party and you drank and you ate the food and you ignored most of the Super Bowl, but you tuned in for the commercials. And we had some really, really great trailers. And one of them was the full trailer for Jordan Peele's next movie, his follow-up to Get Out and Us, the movie Nope, which aside from the name, most people knew absolutely nothing about going in. It stars Keke Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya, and they are playing characters working on a horse ranch in Hollywood, one of the oldest Black-owned horse ranches in Hollywood. And we didn't know a lot going into this trailer, and coming out of this trailer, we still don't know a lot, but we know it's going to be scary as shit. See a lot of moody moments. It's definitely a really moody trailer. Definitely some shit going down on this horse ranch in Hollywood. My vote, and I think most people are feeling like this is Jordan Peele's take on Aliens.
Yeah.
It feels like we're going full UFOs here, but given Jordan Peele, we probably don't really know what we're going to see, and half of us are going to come out of the movie when we see it and still not be 100% sure what went down, but we're going to really enjoy it. I'm a huge fan of Get Out. I really enjoyed Us. I just think that Jordan Peele has brought this new element to the horror genre, sort of horror / social commentary / Black experience that we've seen other directors sort of take. We've seen other movies that he's produced sort of follow in that footsteps, and I think it's really interesting. And so even like the way this trailer starts, which is sort of the original footage of like that original shot of a black man on a horse and kind of giving you that little bit of Hollywood history about where motion pictures got their start and how it ties to the Black experience. You know that this is not just going to be a movie about aliens, if that's what it is, that there's going to be a lot more to it. And so I got really excited. It's definitely a freaky trailer. It definitely has some scares. Shannon, what did you think?
So I will go see this. I have seen both of Jordan Peele's big screen efforts.
Okay.
When maybe not the weekend they came out, but I did see them shortly after they came out. Get Out, was one of the best movies of the year, and just from the guy from Key and Peele, it was just such an unexpected directorial debut, and it was such a great ride. Us, I was not a big fan of. Mm-hmm. That being said, I did enjoy the ride of it. Like by the time we got to the end, I'm putting things together like, wait, this is what it was? And I'm like, nah, okay. Not a fan of the writing in this one, but the directing is still top notch, and the performances were like Lupita Nyong'o and Winston Duke. I mean, they were great performances. It was a great fright-filled ride. So watching the trailer for Nope, I hope we get more of Get Out and less of Us from the storytelling, but just from the visuals, having the kind of air-powered, multicolored guy, that you see at a car dealership. The fact that they're spread all over the place, I'm like, I never thought those would be frightening, but Jordan Peele has found a way to make a bunch of those in the desert eerie. Yeah. So I will absolutely see this movie. I might wait for a week. I might even go see it by myself, as I have done with horror movies recently, just so my friends can't see me squeal. Yeah. So yes, I am going to go see this. And yes, I do think it looks very interesting.
Yeah, I really wasn't sure what to expect, especially when they dropped that little bit of a teaser, I think, or the poster there. You're like, oh, what is this all about? Plus, I love the fact that it's like, nope. I mean, there's so many ways you can go with that. I love the modern titling of that for a horror film. But then you watch this thing, and right, Mike, you make excellent points. Certainly, these last two films have had social justice commentary within them. You don't need to catch any of the social justice stuff to enjoy the films on the surface level. They're excellent. I think they're well-made horror films. But the social justice aspect just adds a little bit more to enjoy for sure. But here, there's so much symbolism. I mean, of course, talking about the Black experience. I mean, so that's Jordan Peele has said many times how Spike Lee has influenced him in his life. And certainly Spike Lee's films talk about the Black experience, how some of the historical aspects of the Black experience and the influence of the Black experience on our country has been erased by other people, and how these filmmakers are bringing it back. Certainly starting out with that was an interesting take to go about it. You can tell that Daniel Kaluuya is playing a guy who's really world weary. He's been doing this a long time. He's not happy where he's at. Kiki got a little more energy, her dancing around. Plus we get the beat of him using another song and turning it around. I got 5 on it for us. And now Fingertips from Stevie Wonder, how that's going to play in all of this. And then, of course, we get the title, and a lot of people speculate it means not of planet Earth, therefore the alien situation. That's certainly when I did the trailer reaction, I was like, oh no, that's aliens. She's getting sucked out. That seems to be like aliens to me. But real quick, Mike, the symbolism though of the white horse, the pale horse, that's very interesting as well. And the symbolism of the black horse inside a glass case. This kind of like, oh, you can see what you want, but we won't let you have it. I mean, there's just so much working here that I think you can catch and you can put some symbolism or meaning on. But I think overall, I'm very curious to see what the overall story of this is. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I mean, I think what's interesting because another influence that Peele has talked about is Stanley Kubrick. And I think that when you really look at his movies, there is kind of this like where Spike Lee and Stanley Kubrick sort of collide, which I think is really, really interesting. And also, I mean, to Shannon's point about Us, I definitely think Get Out is a cleaner, more straightforward, like right down the line. Like I think Get Out is the stronger of the two movies. Yeah. But I think what I really enjoyed about Us is coming out, there was so much kind of, Johnny, to your point about the symbolism and things going on that like Us was one of those really fun movies that I loved the ride of the movie. I think it maybe wasn't quite as strong just from a storytelling standpoint as Get Out. Yeah. But coming out of the movie and reading all the articles and diving into all of the symbolism, some of the stuff that I got and a lot of the stuff that I didn't, and even just looking at this trailer, to your point, there's going to be so much here. Like this is going to be one of those really fun movies to sort of experience the thrill ride of it, which Jordan Peele is so good at, and then come out and be like, oh, that's why the horse was there. Oh, that part meant this. Oh, this symbolized this, or this was a reference to that. And so it really is one of those movies that's fun to sort of dive into and get into all of the details that you missed out on. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, but encourage anyone who didn't like Us the first time around to go back and watch it 2 or 3 times. Like just you're going to get more out of it as you watch it. It's one of those films that grows as you watch it more and more. So we shall see. When's this one?
We shall see on July 22nd.
Yeah, July 22nd. Internationally, August 4th. So for once, we get something ahead of time. All right, Shannon, where are we off to next?
We are off to Middle Earth with our first trailer with footage and actors and action of The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. So, we got, our sort of headless teaser posters. We got a little brief glimpse that was more just scenery. Whereas this one, we actually get some footage. And, I think we've got another voiceover. It sure seems that even though this is not produced in conjunction with Peter Jackson, that they definitely took his films and the look of those films and it totally feels like it's in the same world. It just has that vibe. It has that tone. And thus far, I mean, what we've seen, it looks gorgeous.
Yeah.
It looks super expensive when you find out how much they're spending on this for a potential 5-season run. And we found out a little, like this was released on Dark Horizons, how the story begins with the wicked god Morgoth having been defeated and his apprentice Sauron has vanished. And Galadriel, first played by Cate Blanchett, and in this played by Morfydd Clark, that she is off hunting the remnants of the enemies. And you find out that her brother was actually a casualty of this war. So thus far, everything we're seeing looks amazing. Now, how the show is going to turn out, we'll find out, because I don't know. I mean, I tried to watch The Wheel of Time, and apparently the people that really are a fan of those books are enjoying the hell out of that series. As someone who didn't read the books, I'm reading kind of like, I don't quite get this. Is that not?
I'm not a Wheel of Fan guy, but my friends who read the Wheel of Time books got about 3 episodes in, and they were like, "Well, I don't know what this is anymore." That's what I've heard. If you are a Wheel of Time watcher or you're a fan of the books, let us know in the comments what you guys think about it. Because I like Shannon. I watched the first couple episodes, and I was like, I don't know if I have the time to invest in this. But then I talked to some friends who I was like, maybe I should keep going. And I talked to some friends who were big like Robert Jordan fans, and they were like, "Nope, we noped right out of that one." So.
Well, then we are talking to different people, because the ones that they're like,
well, it's mixed.
This is deep fantasy. You have to stay on the ride. I was not compelled to keep going. And now knowing that, some of Vogel's friends who I may or may not know are saying that it's not so much. I'm not that inclined to keep going. Lord of the Rings, no matter how the first 3 episodes are, my guess is I'm going to power through that entire first season. But gentlemen, what did you all think of our first real look at the Rings of Power?
I enjoyed it. I'll be honest with you. And I know some people are like, "Oh, it's too CGI'd or it looks too weird." And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I enjoyed it. I agree with you, Michael. I think we're getting the vibe here of Peter, or Shannon, we were saying to Peter Jackson. It's got that vibe of Peter Jackson, certainly. And listen, coming out of those Hobbits films, I know I like them. I know some of the Lord of the Rings fans don't like them, so I get it. So it's almost like mirroring season 8 of Game of Thrones. You want to bring people back in by kind of making them feel like you're going back to the essence of what made you a fan of the Lord of the Rings films. And that seems to come through in the trailer. Like the shots of the Harfoots, I really enjoyed that. That shot of that dude fighting in the gold armor. I had like Excalibur kind of memories there looking at that with the gold armor, the blonde hair with Mordred. And then we see all these different areas throughout Middle. We see that guy going through and slamming that stone and shattering it. The waterfall scene is really cool. The elves all hanging around there. So to me, this feels like we're going back to that. And I love the music. And so for a minute, we got a little bit of what we're going to see here. I'm looking forward to a full trailer. And I like the diversity aspect of it. I've seen some people getting so upset about this, which is ridiculous to me. It's 2022. Deal with it. The diversity of this, I like. They're adding new characters, playing around with it. This is the future here. We're not going backwards. We're going forwards. And it's going to showcase that here in this series. So for me, for a minute, it did its job to get me hooked in and wanting to see this. Mike?
Yeah, I'm on board. I mean, look, I love the Lord of the Rings movies. I think the Hobbit movies are a law of diminishing returns with each one, because when you take the skinniest of the books and make 3 movies out of it, you're really scraping the bottom of the barrel by that 3rd movie. But I still don't hate them. I think Peter Jackson created a really fun world, and like you guys both said, I think this feels like that world. Like, it doesn't feel like they're reinventing Middle-earth here. It feels like they're using that as the base and creating a new story. And I think, like, from what I've seen so far, at the party that I was at, some people were talking about the CG as well. But I'm just like, look, guys, the CG in Lord of the Rings when it came out was amazing for what it was at the time. Now, when you look at the Lord of the Rings movies, it does look a little dated with some of the CG, but the fact that we have a TV series that has that level of CG, and that we're also spoiled at this point, like, man, you guys don't remember back in the days when we, like, our genre shows, like old Star Trek, The Next Generation, and Xena Warrior Princess, like, If somebody was fighting a giant lizard that looked like it came out of the 8-bit video game, you were like, cool, I'll take it. Like, I don't care, I'm in. And now the fact that we have like this level of quality, so I think that they're probably still working on some stuff. We'll see how it looks. I know it doesn't come out till way later this year, but yeah, I'm very, very excited. The more to Shannon's point, the more that I see of it and the more that I hear of the story, the more that I'm getting really excited, more excited than I thought I would be to revisit Middle Earth.
Shannon, any final words on this?
No, I mean, just the fact that they have a young Galadriel, they have a young Elrond, like they have these touchstones that do connect to the movies that we're familiar with and what some of the audience grew up with. The fact that they have those touchstones to see, like, okay, remember her? That's who this is. I thus far, I think the story, they're making a lot of right moves, at least setting up their bases. But either way, we're going to find out when it drops on Amazon Prime September 2nd.
And there's the backlash. It's been going on. I wonder how the backlash is going to affect people's reactions to it. I hope it's not negative, negatively going to affect it. I hope there's not review bombing. Let something breathe for a little bit. Let it have some life. Then you can judge it on its merits. Until then, I think it's a waste of time. They just let it come out, watch it, then you can see it. Like, I saw some people already commenting on my trailer reaction about it, and I'm like, you haven't even seen the whole thing. How can you know whether they're doing this effectively or not? Let something breathe, then you can judge it. All right, let's move on to our last trailer here in this first section of our show. It is Moon Knight. The Super Bowl trailer dropped here. The 30-second Super Bowl big game spot trailer dropped while we were watching the Super Bowl. I literally just went from my Twitch stream and recorded a trailer reaction and went right back to my Twitch stream because I had to talk about this trailer's 30-second trailer. As a massive fan of Moon Knight. We got more with Oscar Isaac, more with Khonshu. We got more with Ethan Hawke and seeing what his role in all this. We got some purple magic, and we went back to Egypt. And the moment that blew my mind right there, that was incredible. I lost my shit when I saw that crescent moon jump down. We got more with Oscar Isaac and that accent of his, seeing himself in the mirror, another version of himself in the mirror. Certainly more about the dissociative identity disorder, hearing the voice of Khonshu and Oscar Isaac's reaction, the pure fear in his face, seeing a Harrow, which is who Ethan Hawke is playing, telling him to embrace it, and then we see him kicking people's asses all over the place. So, Mike, I go to you first on this one. Thoughts on this trailer? Did you like it? We got something last month. This was only 30 seconds, but were these 30 seconds enough to get you even more excited to see what we're going to get?
I mean, seeing Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac and the fact that this is a TV show that I get to watch has me excited. I mean, I'm super stoked for this. I'm really curious to see how it fits into the rest of the MCU. I mean, Kevin Feige just came out recently in an interview. I think it was in Empire. I'm not 100% sure, but I think Empire did a big interview with him where he was like, they're not pulling any punches as far as the intensity with Moon Knight. Like, they're definitely really going for it. Oscar Isaac said, he really enjoyed that doing it as a TV series where you weren't as worried about like opening weekend box office, allowed them to really delve into the mental health disorders a little bit more as far as the character. So like everything that everyone is saying about it, combined with just the complete utter weirdness of this vibe, I'm just so curious. I mean, like we talked about this. I know you're a big Moon Knight fan. I'm not as familiar with Moon Knight. So as opposed to like a WandaVision coming out or a Loki coming out where I'm like, well, these are familiar characters. Like, and even with like the Miss Marvels and the She-Hulks that are coming down the road where I know those characters pretty well from the comics, Moon Knight is a little bit of a mystery to me. So I'm kind of going into this kind of blind, but everything I'm seeing and everything I'm hearing has me very, very intrigued.
Yeah, Shannon, we see a gold turtle. We see him flying into the crescent thing that's right by the Louvre. The Louvre, of course, in a pyramid shape, mirroring the pyramids. We see when Harrow is hitting that staff or whatever, and we're seeing the purple magic there in ancient Egypt, and then hearing the voice of Khonshu. I mean, a lot of things here were thrown in these 30 seconds quickly. What stood out to you, and what you feel coming out of these 30 seconds?
I mean, the big thing was that moment where Ethan Hawke shows that tattoo on the inside of his arm, where you see the scales kind of going back and forth. I mean, the cool thing about what Disney Plus has been able to do is they've been able to not divorce themselves, but separate themselves from what is expected.
Yeah.
With WandaVision, you were able to do something so incredibly different and so incredibly original. And I think for the most part, even though a lot of folks didn't necessarily love the finale, I do think that paid in dividends. I mean, I think that worked really well. And the same thing with Loki. Like, Loki was very, very different. And hearing Kevin Feige saying we're not pulling back on the things, especially like the violence, we're not pulling back on what you would expect us to pull back on.
Yeah.
The fact that this medium is giving them an opportunity to kind of stretch their legs, especially with a character who the audiences for the most part don't know. I'm like Vogel. Like I know the broad strokes of Moon Knight, the multiple personalities, and how they kind of lean into that in the future with some of the comics runs.
Right.
But Oscar Isaac is such an electric performer that he can literally play three different people really, but two different people whose faces we see. And you, as an audience member, you believe that those are different guys. I mean, that's truly, truly exciting. Ethan Hawke, even though I think he's kind of poo-pooed superhero cinema in the past.
He has taken that back, to be fair. Yeah. He has. His Logan comments, yeah.
The fact that whatever this project was, I mean, got him excited enough to retract those statements and to just knowing how different this is going to be. And just visually, we talked about it before when the first trailer came out. I was like, looking at the comics accurate version of Moon Knight, this all white costume, like, I don't know how that works in live action. And you see, at least for me, it totally works.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. You hope that they understand the aspects of dissociative identity disorder. And this isn't just something they're using for the character and not giving the full weight to it. I think we saw a little bit with Falcon and Winter Soldier. Didn't 100% go there or get it squared away. Could have been the cutting of the episodes, could have been the COVID situation, could have been a number of things, but didn't quite hit the mark as strongly as they would like with their story about race here in America. They did get I think they did a good job. They could have done a great job. So something like this can be, as we're more aware of it, as we're talking about it more, as the mental health stigma is slowly cracking and breaking in the mainstream to where it isn't a stigma anymore, I hope they understand the responsibility of taking on with a series like this and getting the chance to really flesh this out and give it its proper due, its proper respect, and not just using it as a plot device. It has to be something that they actually explore and see the effect of. And I trust them. I feel like I'm certainly getting the vibe that they are. Is it Mark Spector? Is it Stephen Grant? Who is it? And I think that's going to keep us guessing throughout. Don't you think?
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead, Vogel.
No, go ahead.
John, who's the third that is often associated? It's the cabbie.
Yeah. I forget the guy's name right off.
I don't remember the name right now, but curious if he'll pop up as well. And there was actually a promo shot of was it Mr. Knight when it's basically in the suit? I mean, like that hasn't been in a trailer. It was just a promo photo. But again, that's another costume that I'm like, oh my God, that looks fantastic. Like this is just a series that we're incredibly curious to see what this is going to be.
Yeah. There are a number of them, and so we'll see how many of them pop up. But like we're about to talk about with Doctor Strange, I mean, we had to get to Doctor Strange having multiple Doctor Stranges, so I think they want to take it slow in that first season and just keep it with those two. There might be a third one teased. The cabbie might be teased down the road, maybe even a final scene or a final shot or a post-credit scene or something like that. But I can't imagine they'd want to throw a third identity in to make people kind of even more like, what is going on? Especially because they only have 7 episodes. I think that's.
I was gonna say, do we know how many episodes it is?
I'm assuming it's 7, and we're not that far away. March 30th is when this thing is coming out. So we're almost at the end of February, right? So we're halfway through. So,
according to IMDb, it is 6.
6, okay. So the last thing I think you want to do is throw a third identity in only 6 episodes. I think people are going to be kind of really hard, going to have a hard time hanging on to these two. Plus, whatever Harrow's doing and how that all lies in going into Egypt. I mean, there's a real chance that people are going to be turned off by this because we're going in the past. We're going to Egypt. We're going to this thing. Death on the Nile didn't do so well in the box office. Yeah, it was number 1, but it was number 1 with a small amount of money. So what's the lure? Is the lure of Egypt still there?
They had enough champagne to fill the Nile.
People so mad at that line. Oh my God. Anyway, this is coming out March 30th, 2022. Looking forward to it. And we'll see what happens. And we'll see what more we get. I'm sure we'll get one more big trailer, kind of giving us probably more about Harrow and his place in all of this. All right, well, there we go. This is the end of our first block here on the Geek Buddies. We're going to take a quick little break, and then we're going to get into a big and deep breakdown of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Holy Mary, Mother of God, do we have a lot to do here. And we'll be right back right after this.
I forgot the theme. I can't do it.
I keep going. I try to do it, and then I go to Harry Potter.
I don't have my harpsichord.
We're a well-oiled machine, ladies and gentlemen. A well-oiled machine for sure. All right. Well, let's get into this thing.
Nope, that's Harry Potter.
No, that's Harry Potter.
Can't do it.
All
right, didn't matter.
I knew Super Bowl Sunday. Wendy Lee and I, we do that show on Fridays. She warned me. She has her own YouTube channel. She said, "You better get ready to do these trailers. You didn't do them last year. You better do trailer reactions this year." I was like, "All right, let's see. I'm going to do a Twitch watch along." See. And they dropped this trailer before the Super Bowl while the Super Bowl was going, before the Super Bowl even really got going as a game, they dropped this trailer. What an insane trailer. Dropped it during the first quarter of the Super Bowl. Really surprised. This one, even more insane, even more out there. We had Wanda. We had possibly Spectrum or maybe Iron Man versions of this thing. We heard Patrick Stewart's voice. We got America Chavez. We got so much in this trailer. So we're going to break this thing down. We're talking about our overall thoughts, then break it down about what stood out for us, what we think was going on here. Mikey, I'll start with you, of course. Man, thoughts. You cracked your knuckles. Go at it.
Man, Spider-Man No Way Home was just such a epic superhero movie where they did stuff that we never thought we'd see in a superhero movie, and seeing all these villains and the other Spider-Man, and you're like, that was like, like Marvel movies are kind of like peaks and valleys.
Yeah.
Like you get to like an Infinity War Endgame, and then you kind of like settle down and sometimes you have a couple that aren't the best, but you have a lot of them that are like, that was a solid movie. I'm not freaking out about it, but I really enjoyed it. And then you get to the next thing. Yeah. And Spider-Man No Way Home was definitely one of those peaks where you're like, as you can tell by the box office and everyone's reaction to it, like that was a superhero event. Mm-hmm. And you kind of are like, all right, well, that was great. Now let's settle down and wait for the next one. And then they just come right out of the gate with Multiverse of Madness, and it is hitting on every cylinder. Doctor Strange dealing with the multiverse and the different Doctor Stranges all by itself is just a great idea. Just all by, if that was just it, if it was Doctor Strange fighting a bunch of other Doctor Stranges because of what he did in No Way Home and the multiverse cracked open, great. Adding in, we're going to introduce America Chavez and continue our Young Avengers bingo card. Score. Yeah. Hey, let's bring Wanda into this post WandaVision and everything that she's dealing with now that she's the Scarlet Witch. And you're like, well, shit, I'm overwhelmed.
Right.
And then you drop in, we're going to spend a good chunk of this movie in some reality where a version of Marvel's Illuminati have basically created an authoritarian world where everything is good, but maybe not as good for everybody, whatever that ends up being. And for those that aren't aware, just like really quick thing. So in the Marvel comics, the Illuminati was a group of some of the heavy hitters of the Marvel universe, mostly a bunch of white dudes, but a bunch of heavy hitters in the Marvel universe who were making a lot of decisions about how things should have been running behind the scenes. And there's been a couple different groups, a couple different versions of it, but mostly we're talking Professor X, Iron Man, Doctor Strange, Reed Richards, Namor, T'Challa sometimes, a couple others coming in and out of there. But so to hear Patrick Stewart's voice and to go, not only does this mean a version of Professor X is showing up, if they try and do another boner on us, like in WandaVision, I think everyone's going to riot. Everyone's going to riot in the streets. So I'm going to go ahead and assume that this is Professor X. But when you see Doctor Strange walking into that room and you see the other figures, the idea of what this version, the MCU version, and this reality's version of the Illuminati is, and who else we might be seeing.
Yeah.
And everyone is on the table right now. Everyone's been talking about who that might be. That's thrilling. And so just like on every level, and then the potential tie-ins to What If. The rumors that we're going to see Captain Carter, my guess would be as one of the people on the board for the Illuminati. The idea that we're going to maybe get Dark Tor Strange, Shannon's favorite from the What If series, and even Marvel Zombies. Both like in not more in the Super Bowl tease, not in the actual trailer that's online. You get a really clear shot of zombie Doctor Strange and zombie Wanda. So how this is all tying into one movie, it's kind of like No Way Home. Like going into it, we're like, this all looks great. I don't know if this is a lot to juggle. I don't know if they can do it. This looks like it's even more to juggle, but they did it with No Way Home. They did it with an Infinity War and Endgame. So it feels like they're going to do it now. Holy shit.
Shannon, everything Michael's talking about, we get zombie Doctor Strange or Nightmare, which they might be. We get him in pieces here in this shot. We get Gargantos rolling around here from What If. We get this Nightmare sequence, America Chavez being held here, and Rintraw, for God's, as if there wasn't enough already in here. We get so much rolling through this Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Tell me what you were feeling. Tell me what you were thinking afterwards. And my God, how much can they shove into a movie? As Mike said, you think you're just going to calm down for a little bit, but no, we're going even farther. Did you finish AP Science? Great. Here's your next level. Son of a gun.
It's funny because it's the last time I was watching a trailer and I had an audible reaction was probably Avengers Endgame. Like with Spider-Man, like I was excited to see it, but I think I was kind of like, are they going to show him? Are they going to show him? Are they going to show all three? I'm like, oh, okay, they didn't. That's fine. That's actually I prefer that. Watching this trailer, because I for the Super Bowl. Coincidentally enough, Shani and I went and saw Death on the Nile because I'm like, hey, there will be nobody at the movies right now. So as we came back in, I was watching your guys' texts about Multiverse of Madness. Like they were coming up in the movie, and I'm like, oh my God, we got to get through 2 hours of this movie before I can watch this trailer. So getting into I pulled it up on the smart TV in the living room, and multiple audible reactions. Oh! It was there were some things that were so unexpected. Like I did not expect the Illuminati. That was something that I did not expect. I had read a couple of rumors and it was just like that seems like a lot. But in the confines of what's being presented, I'm like, God, I guess that does make sense. And then because Endgame was almost 3 hours of Act 3 payoff when you're looking at the giant Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's what Doctor Strange feels like. Everything that they're going to throw into this seems like stuff. It is going to be earned. It's going to be all payoff because they have this incredible base that they've built with the first three phases of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and now with the Disney Plus series. For folks that maybe didn't watch What If because you were unsure if it connected to the live action. If you're not a big fan of animation, one, they're great stories and you would probably enjoy them. But also, it seems like it's going to be important viewing to understand some of what's going on. I was just so incredibly excited. And then watching hearing the narration at the beginning with Stephen Strange waking up, I'm like, is that our Stephen Strange? Which one is this? This could be anybody. I mean, they're presenting us with at least 3, maybe 4 in the trailer. So it just is so exciting. And it's the type of trailer that I couldn't wait for today to talk theories, to talk guesses. Most of which I think are going to be wrong, but still, I think it's going to be a blast.
So before we get into some of the more wilder conjecture, a couple things just as a base level for where it seems like this movie's going. We know that Doctor Strange fucked with the multiverse in Spider-Man No Way Home. Whether or not he remembers doing that, depending on how the spell worked, there's a lot of talk, Wong saying at the beginning, you don't control everything, and him being I did what I had to do. That could be talking about what happened in No Way Home. It could be talking about something completely different that he does at the beginning of this movie. So we will see. But whatever it is, Doctor Strange fucking with the multiverse. And then we know at least we have our Doctor Strange.
Yes.
We have this sort of it's Defender Strange, like the guy with the ponytail and the white stripes that sort of who seems like a very, I think, probably tied to the Illuminati, like an authoritarian Doctor Strange who kind of is like taking matters into his own hands. And then we have the dark Doctor Strange who looks like he's the same Doctor Strange from What If. That's what we're all presuming. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's like a different version of that, but seems like he's that guy who seems like he's just like fucking fuck it. Like there's order and chaos, and this idea that Doctor Strange is someone who has a tendency to be a pretty arrogant guy and thinks he can handle anything, and we'll see how that goes. So like there's this struggle of this Doctor Strange figuring out how much control he can have, and then adding into that Wanda now fully Scarlet Witching it up, clearly still having issues about what happened in Westview, wanting to find her kids. Like that's where we left her at the end of WandaVision, having the Darkhold. And then, like Johnny has up on screen right now, the scene of Wanda as Scarlet Witch kneeling in a version of her Westview house with another Wanda looking down on her. Is this a Wanda from a different reality where she actually got her house with Vision and their kids actually did grow up? Is this all happening in Wanda's mind as she's struggling with the two sides of her personality? Like we have no idea, but it definitely seems like, I think one of the most telling things in the trailer is when Wanda says to Strange, when you break the rules, you're a hero. Yeah. When I do it, I'm a villain. That doesn't seem fair, which really says to me that Wanda's like, fuck everybody. I'm going to do what I want to do. And then adding into this, America Chavez, who we see sort of tied up at the beginning, looks like by Defender Strange. And we know from the comics that America Chavez's powers are that she can punch holes through the multiverse. She can go wherever. So she can go to all these different places, which I would assume the Illuminati are trying to prevent in some capacity. So, you sort of have all these pieces. It seems like a lot. Add to that, we definitely have at least 2 Christines by Rachel McAdams. Yeah. We have our version, our universe's Christine, who looks at the beginning of the movie like she's getting married, not to Strange, because he is clearly a guest at that wedding. And then we have another Christine that has red hair, that looks like she's in the Illuminati universe. And what her role is going to be. So, it's just, there's so many moving pieces to this, but the idea of this really diving into what the multiverse is, really curious to see how much this is going to reference Loki, tie into Loki, because, Loki was a world where the TVA was very specifically keeping the multiverse in check. This is now a world post What If, post TVA, What If, into this where the multiverse is all over the place and there's all of these realities and all of these things existing simultaneously and what that means. Look, I mean, and here's the thing this is the Illuminati here. Take a look. That's what they were set up as. And, a lot of people have been saying the rumor that Namor is going to be like the villain in Black Panther 2, possibly in some way in Wakanda Forever. We shall see. We get Defender Doctor Strange, which is really something I never thought we'd get to that point. This is the thing that's amazing about this film. And it's maybe why Scott Derrickson and Marvel had their creative differences. Maybe Scott was like, you know what? This is a lot, man. I'm just trying to tell this story. And they're like, they found Sam Raimi, like, Sam, can you do this? And Sam's like, give me more. Give me more. So maybe that had been, and Sam, and to Scott's credit, Scott gave Sam a lot of love over the weekend on social media and saying, this is absolutely his film. And I was very happy to step aside and let him take it over because this is what they wanted. And I think that's great. But we get something like Rintrah. I mean, they're really pushing the boundaries of what you're able to consume here because Rintrah becomes Strange's apprentice. So how is Rintrah going to work in all of this? We haven't even gotten Beta Ray Bill yet, but somehow Rintrah has made the jump into the MCU. And Shannon, you guys talk about the Dark Tor Strange. Is this the What If Dark Tor Strange? I don't know, but it's exciting to even consider it. And we might be going to Strangelands. If we're going to Strangelands,
Savage Lands.
Sorry, I'm thinking Doctor Strange, Savage Lands. Sorry about that. But like that is so much to consider and throw into one trailer. And then here's a shot at the end that some people are speculating Wanda bringing Pietro back to life. That she might, because those are the cages that they were held in possibly. There's rumors that she might be bringing Pietro back to life. Which Pietro we're going to get? I know we're going to get Boner. So is Aaron Taylor Johnson going to come back? Is there a new one coming? What is this whole situation going to lead to? I think, because that was a shot from her eye, from her perspective, right? Yes. Cages. I think those cages
I don't know if it's in the actual trailer that's online. It was in the YouTube trailer, or it was on the Super Bowl trailer. You see the red-haired Christine in a lab looking at something, and there's two glass cages behind her, and America Chavez is clearly in one of them.
Interesting.
So I think a lot of people online are saying that shot is clearly like Wanda is also in this Illuminati. We see it because we see her fighting somebody, right? Whether that be Tom Cruise or not, we can talk about that in a second. So I think we do see her either breaking America Chavez out or coming to absorb America Chavez's powers so that she can bust through the multiverse and find her kids. Like, I really think. I mean, I don't think. Another thing that I did not realize this, but everyone pointed this out online, which I thought was very cool, is even from the teaser trailer, we saw that scene of Wanda in that whole kind of orchard, all those trees with the white flowers.
Yes.
And she's talking to Strange. But in this trailer, we see that scene again, but we also see the scene with her fully Scarlet Witch talking to Strange when she says, you get to be the hero, I get to be the villain, that's not fair, in this very dark red background, this very sort of like moody place. But everyone's pointing out that Strange is wearing the exact same outfit in both, and that those trees with the white flowers, that beautiful kind of tranquil looking place, is maybe part of like one of Wanda's illusions. And so like that, those two scenes tie together. So I really think Wanda's setting up to be the big bad of this movie. It feels like, I don't think that she, and I could be completely wrong on this, like maybe she gets her shit together and her and Strange end up going against the Illuminati or something, but I have a feeling it's like Wanda's gonna make her moves here and go full Scarlet Witch, and that's probably the thing that I'm most excited to see in this movie.
Well, and we haven't even talked about Mordo. Mordo being a part of, Mordo shows up in the trailer. Strange fights Mordo. Is Mordo part of the Illuminati? I think Mordo has been part of the Illuminati in the comics, because as you said, Mike, this is post TVA, so post Loki. So what version of the TVA are getting? Where's Kang in all of this? What's his game to play here with Wanda? And this makes sense to me, what you're talking about, Wanda possibly being the big bad, because like, well, she has constantly been controlled, whether it's a Hydra or the Avengers. I think of that scene where she's trying to break out of there. Hawkeye tries to break her out there, and Vision tries to stop them. She's constantly being told what to think, what to feel, what to do, and have her moments of being a hero. But everyone is afraid of her power. And it's kind of symbolic of women, right? The idea of women in society, people being afraid of the power of women. And so it's kind of so her embracing her power, being strong in this movie, but turning into a villain, I think might be the wrong chord to strike. But then again, who else but her could go toe-to-toe with Strange and go into multiple dimensions and kind of whip him and see different versions of herself coming together? So it could be a colossal battle, as you said, Michael, that at the end they come to terms with each other. But I'm looking forward to it for sure. Sorry to cut you off. Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, who else could go up against Doctor Strange other than Wanda? Well, a version of Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, that could be like that. I mean, I think all three. Wanda has the potential to be an antagonist. The Illuminati, I'm pretty sure, are one of the antagonists. But also, I think Doctor Strange is also like, he might be the big bad of this.
Right.
And
he might be
talking
the bad.
about
Right.
Yep. Talking about the shot that you said where Mordo fights Strange, I watched that one, and I don't think he's fighting him. I think he's setting him free, because Strange is in those cups, and it looks like he's coming down on top of it.
So maybe they'll be working together.
My guess.
Go ahead.
Sorry, my guess with those two cells is that one is for America Chavez and one is for Doctor Strange, and like they have taken him away. Okay. I'm thinking maybe Mordo and maybe Christine help them escape, because that shot you see of them in the floating vault door, that is Strange, Chavez, and Christine. So that's kind of my guess right now.
Okay, Mike.
Yeah, and it looks like when they go through that door, it is sort of like the it looks sort of like it's the same kind of place where Kang was at the end of Loki. Like, it's kind of one of these like dimensional, like I think we are getting into sort of, I think we're going to get into Nexus beings. Like, I think we're getting into all kinds of crazy stuff. I think Mordo is, I think this Mordo is not the Mordo that we saw in Doctor Strange 1. I think this is probably this universe's Mordo. And I would imagine this universe's Mordo very likely might be a member of the Illuminati. I think that we might, I mean, now we're just getting into crazy conjecture, but I do think that like maybe
nothing is crazy anymore,
this
Mike.
Defender, it's a good point. I don't know maybe if this Defender Strange that we see in the trailer kind of gets taken off the board pretty early in the movie, and Mordo is on the Illuminati now, but maybe is the newer version. I mean, I'm just really curious to see who we're going to see. I mean, obviously we do see this superpowered, armored, glowing person fighting with Wanda in the trailer.
Yeah.
A lot of speculation on who this is. The wackiest and craziest, but I know John is very excited about, is these persisting rumors that Tom Cruise is showing up as Superior Iron Man.
That's right. There he is. As Superior Iron Man.
And since we see that the Illuminati have a bunch of Ultrons that seem to be working just fine, this would be the Iron Man that did sort of successfully build his suit of armor around the world and have a bunch of Ultrons working for him. That might be a little bit more of a stretch than I think I could even wrap my head around. I also think when you look at that glowing figure that Wanda is fighting, the shape looks a little bit more feminine than I think a Superior Iron Man costume would look like. So my guess is either a Monica Rambeau or even a Maria Rambeau, like a reality where Maria Rambeau ended up getting the powers of the Tesseract instead of Captain Marvel, and becomes Captain Marvel. And so I think that might be interesting. But yeah, the guesses on who I think that the guesses on who the Illuminati are going to be are going to rival which villains is Spider-Man going to fight in No Way Home.
I mean, come on now. This is all possible, Mikey. Come on. But no, it's probably Spectrum. It's probably Monica Rambeau. It's a great point. You got to bring that back. If you're going to bring Westview back, you got to bring her back. I feel like they're connected. They're intrinsically connected. So you kind of have to bring them back. So,
although I do think that, I'm not saying that I think it's going to be Tom Cruise, but I do think Iron Man, Tony Stark, is such a big part of the Illuminati. And I think those Ultrons walking Doctor Strange up there, I mean, in the MCU, Tony Stark created Ultron. In the Marvel Comics, Hank Pym created Ultron. Maybe we get a Michael Douglas up there. I don't know. But the Ultron definitely does make you think that there needs to be someone up there who got that thing right.
How much DH? Someone brought. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Shannon. Sorry.
Well, I mean, like I thought we were like, okay, if we just want to start speculating wildly about who's up there, Johnny, do you have any? I mean, Tom Cruise or? Sure,
Tom Cruise, but I'm throwing something else out there. A lot of people were kind of pushing back on that. Kalinowski. Kalinowski didn't like that it was when we heard Professor X's voice. We haven't even talked. We should go in depth on that too. We heard Professor X's voice. Is that Professor X or is that someone else? Is that another alternate dimension Professor X? Not our dimension Professor X? I don't know, but we heard Patrick Stewart's voice, and Kalinowski said, "Oh, I didn't like that because Logan is such a nice send off." It's like, yeah, but nobody ever really dies, and this is. To me, this is Disney's version of it, so it could really work. But someone else pointed out, look, it doesn't have to be the same person, and these don't all have to look alike. We have 3 different Spider-Man for 3 different dimensions, so we could have a Tony Stark that looks nothing like Tony Stark, as we saw in Into the Spider-Verse. All the different Spider people, they're different ethnicities, different genders, so anything is possible here. So yeah, we could get a new Hank Pym, we get a new Tony Stark, a new version of this. So that's what I'm very curious about to see is how many of these people are going to essentially be part of the main timeline, although we are creating other timelines that are connected. So
I think this entire Illuminati is not our timeline.
Okay.
I mean, this is not our world. I mean,
are they above timelines? Are they above all the timelines, Mike? Okay.
In the Avengers, in the Marvel Comics universe, when the Illuminati, there was a giant, I can't remember the arc that it was, but there was a giant arc that ultimately brought the Ultimate Universe and our universe together, where universes were colliding and entire universes were being destroyed. Yeah. And our universe's Illuminati, our 616, Marvel 616, our universe's Illuminati, basically were making the choice to let entire other universes die so that they could survive. And it was like a big issue. When Cap found out, he was very upset about it. But I think that maybe they're going to take some elements of that story, that maybe this is a universe that understands that there's a multiverse and understands that, universes are being destroyed, and it's like, well, we're going to win. We're going to stay the main universe, and we're going to let everybody else die. As we saw with Doctor Strange in No Way Home, he was kind of in a, well, if this is these people's fate, it's their fate. And Peter Parker was the one who was like, no, we can make their lives better. Maybe he takes a little bit of what he learned from Peter Parker into this movie and says, well, there has to be a better way. So I think, to the Professor X of it all, I think that Marvel would not drop Patrick Stewart's voice in this trailer and then pull a fast one on us and say, no, he's actually Jimmy Two-Tone, whatever. Like it's not going to be like some other guy. Like, but I don't think this is our universe's Professor X, and I don't think it even necessarily needs to be the same Professor X from the X-Men movies. Right. This is a alternate version of Professor X from this world where there were mutants, but it does introduce mutants. It does introduce the concept of mutants. If he is Professor X, he is a mutant. Yeah. From a world that ostensibly would have mutants. I still don't know that this is the moment where they're breaking it wide open and saying now mutants exist. I don't know if Wanda's going to create... every time that we even get close to it, because we're all so excited, we're like, this is where mutants come from. I don't know that we're there yet, but I think even teasing Professor X in this is a big step forward. I mean, the other piece of this, and again, I don't know if they're going to do this or not, but are we going to see a Reed Richards up there?
Yeah.
So...
yeah, go ahead.
To John's point about is this a group above the timelines? I feel like, and again, this is just speculative, that this Illuminati is representatives from different timelines. I mean, I feel like this is like Kang in Loki. It's like he met a bunch of versions of himself, and at first it seemed like it was okay. So I feel like these are all different timeline representatives. That's kind of my guess. To Reed Richards, I feel like Reed Richards, it would have made more sense for him to be the engineer in WandaVision than to present him like this. That the guess is that this is probably not like the most benevolent organization. Right. So to present him in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a pseudo bad guy, I don't think they would do that yet. But as to who's up there, like, I don't think it's Tony Stark or Hank Pym. I think it is a version of Vision or Ultron that turned out well, and that's why you have those Ultron bots. And also, to who's going to be up there, I feel like they are going to use what's on the table. I think there is going to be a Wakandan. I think there is going to be an Asgardian, and like that Wakandan. Vogel and I texted about this briefly yesterday. I'm like, I feel like it could be Killmonger. I think there is a version, where N'Jobu became king and not T'Chaka.
It could also be this universe's version of Okoye. I mean, she is someone who would want to protect her world. Yeah. You know, I mean, like the Illuminati, although I do think they are going to be sort of the at least partially the antagonist of this movie, are just a bunch of people that are desperately trying to protect their worlds or their world from whatever's going on. Right. You know, I mean, to your point about Reed Richards, again, I don't know that this is where they're going to introduce him, but you could just as easily give us a Reed Richards. Let's just say it's a John Krasinski up there, who is a bad version of Reed. And then once everything is sort of fixed at the end of the movie, the post-credit sequence is, we see a John Krasinski in our universe walking around who's just a younger guy who, you know what I mean? Like, there's a way that you could probably reverse that too and say, here was the bad version, but here's the younger guy in our world that is actually going to be the hero. So like, you could do it that way if you wanted to. The thing is, the possibilities are so endless now that they're going full multiverse that like literally there's no way to tell.
Right. Fascinating stuff. All right. Well, I mean, any more to say on this? Any more to talk about on this? I mean, I think we covered pretty much most of it because there's still so much that I see people speculating about, especially the Christine situation, what her role is going to be in all of this. Because I mean, throwing in America Chavez, which we kind of touched on. We don't know yet what we're going to get with America Chavez, how her story is going to connect in this, but what a way to get introduced through the Strange Universe and through all this. And the costume looks pretty accurate. So I like that you see the shots of her with the star on the back. All of it looks pretty cool. So great stuff. Yeah, Mike.
I mean, just really quickly on both of those, because I know we're running out of time, but I think that America Chavez being able to basically punch her way through the multiverse Probably if you're trying to control the multiverse or fix whatever the issue is that Wong and Strange and everybody are discussing, America Chavez is either part of the problem or part of the solution.
Right.
You know, like someone who actually has the ability to just do that. Like it's almost like she's necessary for this story.
Yes.
So that you can easily traverse the multiverse because they need to. Yeah. Christine is interesting because we definitely, like we mentioned, we see our Christine getting married from our universe, and Strange not being the guy. We see this other Christine in the Illuminati universe where Defender Strange or that versions of Doctor Strange might not be around anymore.
Right.
And then, you know, a lot of people have pointed out with the What If episode that if that dark Tor Strange in the trailer is that guy, his story really mirrors Wanda's story.
Yeah.
I mean, here's two characters that lost somebody that they loved and went to great lengths to bring them back. And in so doing, kind of became the villains of their stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think that kind of introducing someone, like if you now have like I didn't get to marry my Christine because I have whatever issues I'm having. Here's a version of Doctor Strange with Defender Strange that maybe he's dead and Christine didn't get to be with him. And then there's Dark Tor Strange who lost his Christine and doesn't get to be with her. And then Wanda's going around trying to find her kids and do her life. Like you have Strange and Wanda sort of running parallel storylines with loved ones lost and what that means for them. And as Wanda says, oh, well, Strange gets to do what he does and he's the hero, but I'm the bad guy and that's not fair, so fuck you. So, I mean, is in a similar way that they did with No Way Home, as we've been sitting here just conjecturing wildly and talking about all of this shit for 30 minutes, it sounds like it's too much for one movie. But what Marvel has proven really, really good at is being able to take all of these different characters and threads and ideas and references from the comic books and really streamline them into this is a really clear, straightforward story.
Yeah.
And No Way Home did that so well. And so, again, even though it does seem like a lot, it feels like they really know what they're doing.
Yeah, we shall see. And what's Doctor Strange's reaction going to be when he sees Christine for the first time? Yeah, that's back in life. It could be any kind of things. And we saw what happened in the Dracula film with Gary Oldman when Elizabeth came back and without a writer. So, okay, all right, well, there we go. We broke this thing down. We went deep into this thing. We probably didn't even cover a quarter of the multiverse of theories that are out there about what's possibly happening, but I think we did a damn good job of it. And so we hope we entertained you all as we had the discussion about all these Super Bowl trailers and, of course, gave our tribute to the great Ivan Reitman. So thank you so much for watching or listening to us here on the Geek Buddies. Shannon, what do we have to tell them?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at Geek_Buddies, on Instagram at _Geek_Buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at Shannon_McClung, on Instagram at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you would like to follow this universe's Michael Vogel, it's at MKToon. If you would like to follow this universe's John Rocha, it's at The Rocha Says.
Or so you think. Michael, what do we have to tell them?
Well, as the multiverses collide, we just want to get more fans from all the universes, all the variants watching the Geek Buddies, and here's what you can do to help us. Definitely hit that like button below, subscribe to Johnny's Outlaw Nation page, leave your comments about all of these trailers. Are you excited about Nope? Are you excited about Moon Knight? Are you excited about Lord of the Rings? There's like a lot of, and most importantly, what are your crazy theories about Multiverse of Madness? Where do you think this movie is going to go? Let us know in the comments below. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere podcasts are available, take a minute to leave us some stars, leave us some comments. It helps us go up in the rankings. And as always, the best thing that you guys can do is retweet this video, post it to your socials, send it to your friends, and tell everybody that they should check out the Geek Buddies.
And one big thank you again to Carbon Health, who powers and sponsors the Geek Buddies. Certainly, they would have their hands full trying to take care of all the people in the multiverse, but I think they've got the capacity to do it at one of their clinics. They got 90 clinics in 14 states, virtual care in 24 states. So many places you can go to get checked out. carbonhealth.com. Don't let it sit. Don't let it wait. Don't be a man about it. Go get checked out and find out what's going on. Go get a physical. Go get tested for COVID. If you're going overseas, they offer testing for you there as well. Again, carbonhealth.com. They believe great healthcare should be accessible to everyone, quality healthcare accessible to everyone. And certainly they've been a great sponsor of our show. We appreciate them madly. All right, that's it. We're out here. Take care of yourselves. We will have more content coming down the road. Look for a Chip and Dale's Rescue Rangers trailer reaction and a season finale and season review for Peacemaker coming up later on this week. Until then, y'all take care of yourselves. Be well, and we'll talk to you next time with another brand new episode here from the
Geek
Buddies.